Alright guys, this is Mr. Alex with part 2 of our Star Wars Asteroids game development for mobile app development here at NGHE. This is going to be part 2 and let's get started. For part 2 we are going to start on the asteroid development, and let's open up our game salad. And as you know, we've put our backdrop, our X-Wing fighter. It is able to fly in all directions, able to shoot, and it has sound and also visual thrust. So what you're going to want to do is drag the asteroid onto the field right there. So let's work with that. What we want to do is go to the up to the actors where they've got all the tags, and we want to rename this so that it is the same as the image down here, asteroid-2. So asteroid-2. Okay. So now that we've got that, we want to drag that into the bad tag. We want to label that as a bad tag, and you can double check that down here under tags. It says bad. You have been bad. Okay, looks pretty good. What we want to do is make sure we have that asteroid, and we're going to want to create an integer attribute, and in that we're going to name that break, B-R-E-A-K. Enter. And let's switch in the library up here. We want to go to the 5th tab over, which is behaviors, and this is going to help us out a lot. Because dragging and dropping is so much easier than doing hard coding of typing. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to find change attribute. So under A, this red A, change attribute, we're going to want to drag that over to the side. Hang on, let's okay, so we've double clicked so we could get to our workspace down over here. We want to click the lock to unlock that for us to edit this. And we're going to want to change attribute, drag that over, make sure you're in prototype, asteroid 2. And then under here, under set, we're going to want to go to attribute, game, asteroid count. Double click on that. And then the other part is going to go to, and that's going to be the exact same thing, attribute, game, asteroid count. Double click. And then you'll see this up here. You're going to want to add +1. Add in the check mark. And that's our first item to have completed. Second thing we're going to want to do is change velocity. We can drag that over from the left hand side, change velocity. And when a new asteroid is spawned, to give it a more natural feel, they're going to be moving at different speeds and also in different directions and also just different rotations. So what we're going to want to do with all this programming is give them random numbers. So for example, we want to change the under change velocity. We're going to change the movement to go in the direction of, because it can go into any direction, we want to choose a random number between the minimum of 0, the maximum of 360. That means it can go in any direction. Press the check mark. This is relative to the actor at a speed of, this too is going to be a random number. So we're going to want to remove the 300. We're going to do a minimum of 25, a maximum of 125. Press the check mark, and we've got our change velocity programming in there. Okay, the next thing we'll want to do is rotate. So let's move down here. Everything's in alphabetical order, or pretty much. We're going to want to drag in rotate. Okay. It doesn't matter which way it rotates, clockwise or counterclockwise, because there's no way for us to change that randomly. We wish we could, but unfortunately not. But we can change the speed, and we're going to go down here. Erase that. Let's look for random. Double click that. For the rotation, we want a minimum of 10, a maximum of 75. Click the check mark. There you go. Off to the right, top right, now we're going to create a rule or a group of things. A group of rules. And under this grouping, we're going to rename rule to say hit by bullet. Okay. So when all of the following are happening, we want a collision. Bit of text there. Actor overlaps or collides with actor of tag, and we want this to say good. When the asteroid overlaps or collides with an actor with a tag of good, which is only two things, it's the X-wing or the bullet that it's going to interact with. Then we want it to, let's see, we want another attribute. If, or actually, dragon attribute. Okay, got that in there. If the attribute asteroid 2, we want to make sure its tags are bad. Okay. Okay, when that happens, we're going to go under do now. If these things happen, if one thing is bad and that other actor it collides into is good, there are a number of things we're going to do right now. So let's go under our behaviors. We wanted to play a sound. That's one of the first things we wanted to do. Okay, play sound. And we want it to be an asteroid large explosion. Okay, second thing we're going to want it to do is to change its attribute, and this all has to do with scoring and with the number of asteroids there are in play. So A, change attribute, and that's one of the actions, A for action. We want to set that to attributes game and the score. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Attributes game score is going to be plus 100. And check mark. The next thing we're going to want to do is actually let's minimize everything we have so far, worked on so far. Except for the very first one that we did, change attribute. We're going to want to copy that and drag that down. Let's highlight that. Oops. Let's highlight that. We're going to press copy. Then let's go under the change attribute and we're going to paste it. The asteroid count we're going to change down here to say instead of +1, it's going to be -1. So because our asteroids get destroyed, it needs a counter of -1. Excellent. And finally, for this part, we want destroy. Okay. Okay, so once we do that, let's press save, edit. Oops. We are going to press file, save. ABS, always be saving. Let's drag this into our staging area and press preview. And of course, it's not working. Arrgh. Okay, the attribute. Oh, that's right. Let's click on our instance and we're going to press revert. And that means everything that we've put into the prototype, now we want inside there. Let's make sure. We press save. Okay. And we press the preview. So, nice. We see this beautiful green asteroid moving around. Actually, let's go back to the editor, and I think let's go to our prototype and let's change the size. Let's double that. I say 100 by 100. Or maybe that's too much. Let's do 75 by 75. Okay. And we press save. Okay. And press preview. Looks great. Okay, back to the editor. Now we've got that. The one thing that we're going to have to do in this next part, in this second half, is to create a workaround. And what we're going to do is to create first some explosion particles. So let's do that first. And then I'll tell you about the workaround in just a second. So when we hit it with a bullet, okay, let's actually test this one more time, I'm sorry. And when we hit it with a bullet, oh, did not get hit by that. I think probably what happened is that our bullets does not have a tag yet. Bullets should be good. Player should be good. Okay. So actually, let's file, save. Okay. And if we bump into that, we should be... Yes, very nice. So what was wrong with that was that I did not have the proper tags. The actors were not in their proper taggings for what we programmed so that it could do what it needed to do. So Starfield does not actually go into one of the tags good or bad. It actually shouldn't. That is neutral. The player and the bullet are both good. So if we look under good, we see the bullet and the player under good, and under bad we've got this nasty asteroid. So it looks pretty good so far. Let's go to the second half, and what we want to do is take this last command of destroy. We want to remove that by pressing the minus button. And what we want to do is create another group. So add group here at the bottom. What we're going to do is create particle particle effects. So if we go to our behaviors, we're going to pull in particles. Okay, that'll be the first one that we work on. Okay, we want to spawn 20 particles with a startup time of 0.5, and then make that 0.75. We're going to go over to velocity and position. Emitter is at offset 0 and also 0 for both those. In the direction, we want it to be we want it to go in any direction, so that falls under functions, random. Double click that, and then the minimum is 0 degrees and the maximum is 360 degrees. So that's going to go in any direction that the random number will choose for that moment. That is relative to the actor at a speed of, I do believe we're going to change that, and that's going to be a random number. Functions, again random. Let's erase that. Number 10. Minimum is going to be 10. Maximum is going to be 30. Press the check mark. Looks good. Oh, you know what? I did that wrong. Sorry about that. Under particles, under the speed, the first speed is actually 200. Oops. Alright, let's go back to the functions. Random. Remove that number. The minimum number is actually going to be 200. maximum number is going to be 400. And that's our velocity and speed. Press the good check mark. Our size is going to start, it's going to be random. So let's go, and then minimum is 1, maximum is 3. Check mark. Color. This first one is going to be yellow. With an opacity, we'll drag that down to about 50%. We can close that up. And the color changes to, actually to a black. Let's bring down the opacity to about half. And that's over 2 seconds. Blending is going to be additive. And then let's go to rotation. The initial rotation, that is going to be random. So functions, random. It's going to be 0 to 360, so that'll go in any direction. Press your check mark. The angular velocity should stay the same. And actually, let's change the movement. That too is going to be random of 10 to 100. Check mark. Okay, and if we press the okay. So we want to revert this one over to what we have with all these changes that we've made over here. Instance reverts. Okay. And let's press play, see what that looks like. Yep. Very nice. Look at all the oh. Seems like those particles keep exploding, so what we're going to do, let's go back to the editor. Let's go back to the prototype. And let's, for the particles, let's finish that up here. We're going to call this particle yellow. And what I want to do is highlight that and click Edit, Copy, unhighlight that, and we could press Paste. And then that's one. Edit, paste again. Oops. And edit, paste again. So we've got two of these that say particles. I'm going to drag them both into this one area. So it says yellow particles, particles. Let's make the second one red. This third one is going to be purple. Okay, so all we have to do is change the color of those. Everything else pretty much stays the same. So let's do red. Okay, and this final one of purple. Very nice. And let's save that. Edit, save. Oops. File, save. Okay. We're going to click on the instance. We're going to revert that and switch that all over to be copied. And let's press preview. Fantastic. Okay, that looks good. But we don't want the particles to be exploding all the time, so that has to be put into another area. So let's go back. Let's go to prototype. Okay, you notice that this group is on the outside. So this is explosion particles. Let's grab this. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to drag it inside to here once it's hit by a bullet. So, explosion particles, it didn't go where I wanted it to go. So let's bring it here somewhere. There we go. Okay, so now you'll notice that it acts very, very differently once we go back into the preview. When we get it in the right places, have it work properly, let's follow that and shoot it. Only when we shoot at it will it explode. Okay. So, but the thing is that you notice that the explosion happens, but the asteroid does not disappear. And this, earlier I had mentioned about a workaround. The thing is that in programming, in this part of the programming, the particles cannot appear if the asteroid has disappeared. Again, if we shoot at the asteroid and then we make it disappear, the particles cannot execute and happen. So what we're going to do is do a workaround, and we're going to do a little Jimmy programming to make it still happen, where the asteroid disappears, quote unquote, but it's still there technically. We're just going to make it invisible to make the particles explode, and then we actually make all that disappear. So let's click on that, go back to the prototype, and let's finish this bad boy. Let's minimize all this so we have a little bit more room. Okay, let's create a brand new group here. And we're going to call this group Change My Tag. Okay. And in the library, let's go to the 5th tag under Behaviors. We're going to change attribute. Let's go back. Change attribute. Drag that into Change My Tag. And we're going to set the input, the attribute of the asteroid to the tag, and we're going to say the tag is null, N-U. It is worth nothing. So nullify, if you've ever heard the word nullify, that means negates, makes powerless, makes 0. So we set the tag to be nullified. And what we want to do is make sure that that's highlighted, and we're going to do Control C. Or we do Edit, Copy, which also copies this area also. And we can do an Edit, Paste right there. And we're going to do close to the same thing, attribute of asteroid 2. It's going to have its color, and we're going to change alpha to 0. And what that means is that the alpha, or the coloration, will be 0. So everything's set to 0. So essentially that becomes invisible. Okay. Let's unhighlight that, and then we still have this change attribute copied in the clipboard. So let's press File or Edit, Paste, and we've got a third one down here. So after we change the alpha to 0, we're going to do the input of asteroids 2, the motion, linear velocity to x. Okay. And then x should equal 0. So let's highlight this one, and then we're going to copy it, unselect it, and then paste it back right there. Paste. So we're going to change this to say attributes asteroid 2 motion linear velocity of y. And that's it. So we've got our y and we've got our x over here, and both of those are 0. Okay. So let's, you know what, just to make this nice and clean, I'm going to rename this one tag. The second one of change attribute under this group, we're going to say alpha, because these are the things that we're changing in each area. So this third one is velocity x. The second one is velocity y. And it looks good. I want to save this. File, save. Let's move it up a little bit. I'm going to minimize this. Change my tag actually has to fit inside the hit by bullet, and where I want it to be is before the explosion particles. Okay, we are almost done with this part, and almost done for part 2. Now what we want to do is, after change my tag and explosion particles, we want to add a timer after explosion particles. So here in the right hand side, let's add timer. We're going to put that inside with the rest of that group, and after 3 seconds, what do we want it to do? We want it to destroy. So we click destroy, drag that down here. Okay. Looks good. We're going to go over here to our instance. We're going to revert that and have that asteroid have all the behaviors we've included in that asteroid. So what we want to do now is file, save. Once that is saved, let us press preview, and let's fly on out of here a little bit and let us shoot. Okay.